The house felt heavier that evening. The silence wrapped around every corner. The air tasted stale, as if the walls had not breathed in days. I stepped inside my room. The door clicked behind me like a final decision. A faint smell of damp paper drifted from the old bookshelf. The floor creaked beneath my feet as if reacting to my presence. I dropped my bag on the chair. The window was closed, yet the curtains moved slightly, as if stirred by a breath. A dim light flickered from the lamp. My skin tingled with a sudden chill. I stood still for a moment, listening. The room sounded hollow. Every small noise echoed strangely. My heartbeat felt louder than usual. Then I heard it, a soft whisper, a voice so gentle that I almost mistook it for a breeze. But it was not the wind. It said my name, my full name, slowly, clearly, deliberately. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. The hairs on my arms lifted as if pulled by invisible fingers. The voice came from behind me, but the room was empty. I turned slowly. The lamp flickered again, casting long shadows across the walls. The corners looked darker than they should. The air felt thicker, almost pressing against my chest. I stepped backward. My foot touched the cold edge of the bed. The whisper came again, low, close, almost touching my ear. My name stretched like a thin thread in the air. The sound curled around my neck like cold smoke. I could not swallow. I could not blink. The room seemed to shrink. The shadows breathed in and out. The temperature dropped so sharply that I could see my own breath. I whispered back, asking who was there. My voice cracked like old wood. Silence answered first. Then the voice returned. This time deeper. This time without softness. My name rolled out again. But it sounded different. It sounded older. It sounded like my voice twisted into something unnatural. The room trembled slightly. The curtain shivered even without wind. The floor seemed to vibrate beneath my feet. I felt something shift behind me. A weight, a presence, not seen, but undeniably real. I spun around too fast. My vision blurred. The lamp flickered violently. My shadow stretched across the wall in a shape that was not my own. The whisper returned right beside my ear. My name again, longer this time, heavier, as if the voice was stepping closer with every syllable. My throat tightened. My chest burned with a strange pressure. The air grew colder, sharper, slicing through my breath. I tried to step toward the door. The floorboards groaned beneath me. The shadows climbed higher along the walls. The whisper followed me. My name repeated again and again. Each time louder. Each time nearer. Each time sounding more like something that should not exist in this world. I reached for the door handle. My hand trembled so much that I almost missed it. Before my fingers touched the metal, the whisper spoke again. This time not my name. This time only one short sentence. And it froze me colder than the room itself. It said that it had been waiting for me. The walls tightened their silence. The light dimmed further. The air pressed against my skin like invisible hands. Something moved behind me again. A slow shift. A quiet scrape. A breath that did not belong to me. I stood still. My heart thumped so loudly that it drowned the remaining light in the room. And then the whisper came closer than ever. Right against the side of my neck. The warmth of breath that should not have existed. My name flowed out one more time. Drawn out like a warning. Or an invitation. I did not dare to turn around. Every instinct in my body begged me to run, but my legs felt rooted in the wooden floor. My fingertips barely brushed the door handle. The metal felt strangely warm, as if someone else had been touching it only seconds before me. The whisper floated again, closer, lower, almost shaping itself inside my ear. I felt a soft vibration run along my skin, like the voice carried weight. I forced myself to breathe. Each inhale sounded too loud. Each exhale felt like a surrender. The room seemed to pulse with a faint rhythm. The shadows moved like slow waves, creeping across the walls in patterns that defied the lamp's weak glow. The light flickered again, and for a split second, my shadow split into two. One shape was mine. The other shape was taller, thinner, bent in a way no human body could bend. The temperature dropped again. My breath fogged the air in front of me. The fog twisted unnaturally, curling upward instead of disappearing. I stared at the strange mist until it faded. Then the whisper said my name once more. Not rushed, not angry, just patient. Patient in a way that felt ancient. Patient like something that had been waiting for years and knew I had nowhere else to go. I swallowed hard and turned half an inch. Only enough to glance behind me. But not enough to see everything. My eyes scanned the room. The corners swelled with darkness. Not normal darkness. A living kind. A kind that seemed to pulse and breathe. The voice spoke again, but this time it came from the far wall. Then from the ceiling. Then from just behind my left shoulder. It moved too fast to follow. As if the room itself was speaking to me. My legs finally responded. I stepped away from the door. I did not even know why. Something deep inside whispered that opening the door would be worse. Much worse. I backed toward the center of the room. The voice stopped suddenly. The silence became deafening. A silence so thick that even my heartbeat sounded muffled. Then I heard a faint tapping. Like fingernails. Lightly scratching the inside of the wall. 4 taps. A pause. 4 taps again. My breathing grew shallow. I watched the wall in front of me. The wallpaper trembled. Just slightly. Like something underneath it was moving. I stepped back again, but the whisper cut through the silence. This time the voice sounded stronger. More defined. More confident. It told me to look at the wall. I shook my head slowly. The voice insisted. My name echoed through the room again, sharper this time. As if it was losing patience. Against my own will, my eyes drifted to the trembling wallpaper. The pattern swirled like soft ripples in water. The wall shivered. A faint outline began to rise beneath the surface. Like a face pressing from the other side. The features were blurred at first. Then they sharpened. Eyes. A nose. A mouth slightly open. The lips moved. And then I heard the whisper again. But the lips on the wall did not match the sound. They moved separately. Too slowly. As if struggling to form a word. I stepped back, but the floor felt different. Uneven. As if something was shifting underneath the wooden panels. The face on the wall began to push outward. The wallpaper stretched as if made of thin skin. A faint cracking sound echoed through the room. The lamp flickered violently. The shadows twisted into spirals. The whisper spoke from everywhere. From above. From below. From inside my own head. It said that I had opened the door the moment I entered the room. Not the wooden door, but another kind of door. A door I never saw. A door that had been waiting for me. My legs trembled so hard I almost fell. The floorboards bowed beneath my weight. A cold line of air crawled up my spine. The face on the wall pressed forward again, closer, clearer. Its eyes opened. Completely black. Empty. Hollow. My name slipped from its stretched lips. Slow and dragging. The sound was not a whisper anymore. It was a pull. A force. I staggered back toward the door. This time I grabbed the handle. Fully. My hands shook uncontrollably, but I pulled anyway. The door did not move. Not even a little. Something behind me exhaled. A deep, cold breath brushed across the back of my neck. I froze instantly. The voice spoke again. Not from the wall. Not from the ceiling. Not from the shadows. But from right behind me. So close I felt the warmth of it against my skin. It whispered my name one more time. Then it told me not to leave. The room grew darker. The air grew heavier. The walls seemed to close in around me. My fingers slipped from the handle. My feet felt locked in place. The whisper shifted to my other ear. Soft. Slow. Certain. It said that I had stepped into its space. And that it had stepped into mine. Then the lights went out. And the whisper became something else entirely. Not a voice. Not a breath. Something far closer. Something impossibly close. Something that did not stop calling my name. I could not move. The darkness pressed against me like a living thing. The whisper continued, but its tone softened. No longer demanding. No longer sharp. It became almost sad. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the pressure lifted. The air warmed slightly. The shadows began to shrink back toward the corners. The walls seemed to exhale. A faint light returned from the lamp. The face on the wall had vanished. The room looked normal again. Almost as if nothing had happened. I sank to the floor, my legs finally giving way. My hands shook uncontrollably. My chest heaved with relief and lingering fear. I could still hear the echo of my name, faint and distant, like a memory. I realized the whisper had not been malicious. It was aware, lonely, waiting for someone to notice it. I stood slowly, careful not to disturb the fragile calm. I touched the door. This time it opened easily. I stepped out, feeling the air of the rest of the house embrace me. From the hallway, I glanced back at the empty room. The lamp flickered one last time. Then it remained steady. I whispered my own name softly. The room answered with silence. A gentle, welcoming silence. And though I left that room behind, I never forgot the feeling of being called. Nor the realization that some presences are not meant to harm. They only seek recognition. Sometimes, when the house is quiet at night, I swear I hear it again. Softly, calling my name, waiting, and I listen.